What's going on, guys? Welcome to SLM Bets. We are here Monday after the Monday Night Football with the Cowboys and the Raiders. Welcome to Sports Lounge Media, and I want to say thank you to each and every single one of you. We are actually going to be diving into a lot of things, but first we want to shout out to our sponsors, the collection, the Diamond Collection, the Mogul brand, and also the. What's going on, guys? Oh, sorry. We want to thank Sports Lounge Media as well. So again, the Mogul Brand Diamond Collection and Sports Lounge Media. We're gonna jump into it. Sorry about the rough start, but we're just diving in. We're starting some new product here, and we're going to be talking about a lot of things going into this week. So just diving into it, let's talk about some games that I really found interesting. First and foremost is going to be the Seattle and the Rams game. Now, the Rams did pull out the win. It was in Seattle's hand at the last moment for the win for them. However, I do think that the Seattle Seahawks did play better ball. I thought the Rams played horrible ball, and we're going to dive into a few things. Let's start out on the total time clock of gameplay for possession. Seattle had 37.82 minutes and Rams had 22.18. Seattle dominated the possession of the ball, carried the game in their hands, and had some missed opportunities, but we'll get into that later. 26 over 12 first downs, guys. Seattle had 26 over Rams 12 first downs. They dominated the first down percentage on that game. Total yards dominated in that field. 414 yards. Total yards, Rams 249. Interesting takeaway with total yards. Again, Seattle still moving that ball. It did show a couple things. The secondary did have a really good job with taking over on turnovers from Seattle. However, the Seahawks still were able to move the ball efficiently on the ground and in the air. Next, we're going to be getting into passing yards, 279 as opposed to Rams 130. So pretty interesting takeaway from there. And then we do see that we have the rush yards 135 to 119 on the Rams. So again, a lot of things to be paying attention to. I'm just not impressed with the Rams. I know that they're winning games and W is all that matters, but I thought Seattle was a better team, especially coming into this matchup. The other thing I want to talk about is total plays, 79 as opposed to the total plays of the Rams, 50 yards per attempt. You're looking at Seattle as 5.2 as opposed to the Rams 5. Not only that, the biggest thing is going to be the interception. So 4 turnovers, Seattle, 1 turnover, the Rams. Score ended up being 19-21. Seattle dominated in every aspect of that game besides turnovers. I thought Sam Darnold just had a rough game. 2 of those were definitely missed opportunities, and 2 of them were on the defense. But again, we're going to run over this one more time just because these are some mind-blowing stats to pay attention to. I really think Seattle was a better team. Seattle had almost 40 minutes of time of possession, 26 first downs, 414 total yards, 729 passing yards, 135 rushing, 79 total plays. Yards per attempt were 5.2, 4 turnovers. Rams, again, only had 12 first downs. They were also horrible in the third down conversion rate. They were horrible. 2 of 14 in third down conversion rate. Some pretty interesting notes that we want to get into. So kind of what I'm looking at in for the betting going into this week. A lot of people are talking about the Steelers and the Bears, and I want to address some things, okay? So Rodgers, when he was playing in the first part of that game, he had 9 for 15 completions, 116 yards, and 1 touchdown. Not bad, right? Pretty capable of moving the ball where he needed to. Mason Rudolph came in, though. Okay, Mason Rudolph had 12 of 16 completions, 127 yards, and 1 touchdown. He actually played better than Rodgers did for the time that he was playing in there. That's pretty impressive. Now I want to go on the Bears side of this, right? Bears were 16 for 32. Caleb Williams threw 16 for 32, exactly 50% in completions. Horrible completion rate. Only 193 yards in 4 quarters. Okay, that's not impressive. He also threw 0 touchdowns. However, 0 interceptions, but 0 touchdowns. They were 7 of 18 on third down conversions. They had 2 sacks. They had 6 penalties for 40 yards in total yards lost. So The Steelers overall have been playing better the last couple of weeks. They've been getting stronger. I've been addressing this. Yes, Aaron Rodgers not being out, being your starting quarterback, you're paying him the big money to be able to play. However, Rudolph came in. He did the job. He slipped up into the starting position, and 12 for 16, 127 with the touchdown is going to get the job done. You're not giving the other team the opportunity to have the ball through turnovers, fumbles, or interceptions. All these are great things to have. The other thing I want to address with the Bears is that the Bears defense have blown coverage in the secondary. Yes, they have the most, picked off plays, completions, but at the end of the day, I'm not very happy. I was very, very happy for Mason Rudolph coming into the Steelers and doing well. So round of applause for them. Yeah, 100%. Next is going to be the Panthers. So the Panthers and the 49ers game. Let's address that. I'm a huge 49er fan, and we play the Panthers at our home at Levi's in Santa Clara. So this is going to be interesting. Last week, Bryce Young had his best game of the season, 31 for 45 at 68% completion, 3 touchdowns, 2 of them in the red zone. I wasn't extremely impressed by even Bryce Young. I thought that there was some broken coverage he was able to take apart. I think he overutilized his 2 main wide receivers. 6 for 17 on third downs, not great. 5 sacks, so the offensive line has some weak spots. I think that the Niners are going to be able to expose them in this coming up Monday. They had 8 penalties for 49 total yards. If they play like that, I think that the Niners are going to be able to get some coverage broken on the offensive line, especially with Winters being back. And to be honest, I don't know where the Panthers really sit with me. I think they're kind of middle of the road team. I think the Niners are stepping up and getting pieces healthy back that they need to. So being Brock Purdy, amazing game, CMC, amazing game, and Kittle, amazing game. The Panthers are the second worst team for tight end coverage in the pass. We utilize our tight ends pretty effectively. We're going to be 19 for 26, 73%. 3 touchdowns was what Brock Purdy went for. He played a top 5 caliber quarterback coming back off of all of his injuries, and his QBR rating was off the charts. 3 of 9 third down conversion, only allowing 1 sack with our hurt offensive line, and we only had 1 penalty. That is pretty insane. I do want to talk about the Cardinals, though, really quick. Cardinals in our matchup, Cardinals had 17 penalties for 130 yards in total penalty yards. That is absolutely insane. Guys, we're going to talk about this week. There's a lot to talk about. There's a lot to dive into. So let's do it. Guys, welcome again. My name is John Hamilton. I run SLM Bets on Mondays and Faithful Fridays. We talk about the 49ers. So let's talk about our matchups. Let's talk about this week. I want to talk about who I have. We're going to break down why. Then we're going to give you guys some fun, juicy little parlays and bets that I would recommend putting in. Last week, I hit 3 out of my 5 parlays. The 2 that I wanted to hit were definitely the ones more so of what I wanted to hit. I believe I went 9-6 last week. Not a great week. Or no, maybe I went 10-5. I went 10-5. Not the best week anyway. But we're gonna talk about it. We're gonna talk about why I'm sitting at 73% in my parlays, which is great. Not the best year so far, right? Last year I was about 78%, did finish out the year at 88%. So let's talk about the weeks, and we're going to dive into it. So week 12, we have Buffalo and Texans. Now this is a big game, right off the bat. This could throw your parlay off if you're not paying attention. Look, CJ Stroud isn't playing. Okay. Josh Allen just had a Madden game against the Bucks. 3 rushing touchdowns. Yes, 2 interceptions, but 3 passing touchdowns, a total of 317 yards in the air. I want to tell you something about Buffalo. When it starts getting late into the year, Buffalo plays better football. They have their pieces healthy. Josh Allen is playing incredible ball. Yes, their defense needs to address some issues, but Bucks are the team that everyone knows that can put up points as opposed to other teams. You're playing the Texans. You're playing the best defense in the league right now. But is it going to be chase what the Texans are doing? No. It's going to be the Texans are going to be chasing what the Buffalo Bills are doing in this week. I think that Josh Allen leads 10-3 in the first quarter. I think the Texans are going to be trailing the entire time. They're going to be playing catch up. They're going to cause critical mistakes in the air with interceptions or turnovers or fumbles or forcing the ball in awkward situations. I think that Buffalo is going to take capital on that. I think the game is it's going to be around 27-17. Buffalo wins this game. Next, again, the Steelers and the Bears. Bears are playing great football. I think it's time for the Bears to lose a game. Steelers are definitely the team to do it. Their defense is starting to address the concerns that everyone had that we were seeing firsthand watching football. I think the coaching staff does great. Mike Tomlin does great in November. I think that the Steelers end up pulling it off, yes, even with Rudolph being the quarterback, and he proved it last week, being effective at 80% in his completions. Next, we have the Pats over the Bengals with Jamar Chase. T. Higgins is going to see a lot of upside swing. I think the Patriots are going to do a really good job in this. I think this is going to be a big shootout game. I think that the Patriots are also going to address some of the offensive line concerns. Drake May being sacked, 36 times now for the season. That's an absurd amount. Still having an MVP run, too. I think Drake May just pops off in this game. The running game is actually starting to come together as well. So moving the ball efficiently on the ground and in the air, and their defense really stopping teams where they need to. I think this is going to be a fun game to watch. I'd have this one around 35-20. Next is going to be the Lions and the Giants. Man, I feel bad for the Giants. Giants look like they had some zip to their step, I guess you could say. I don't know the terminology, but they started to look good when they had Jackson Dart, and they also had Cam Skadaboo. Unfortunately, Cam Skadaboo's hurt, and Jackson Dart may or may not be coming back with that concussion protocol. Lions, if I were the Giants, I would feel really bad for you right now, because the Lions are going to have a nasty get-back game. I'm talking about where players are going to be going for an average of 100 across the board with Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jahmyr Gibbs, and even Montgomery is going to ball out in the red zone territory. This is going to be a game that I would highly recommend watching. I would stay tuned for my TikTok and also the shorts that we're going to be putting up for Sports Launch Media for some of the player prop bets that I'm going to have on this game. I think this is going to be a very fun game to watch. I do have the Lions winning in this one. Next is going to be the Vikings and Green Bay. Now, J.J. McCarthy, he is struggling. He's putting the ball over the wide receiver's head, not putting it in a timely fashion where it's leading them, especially on the post corner routes. A lot of inconsistencies, a lot of lack of coverage. And he's just misreading. And if he is reading it correctly, he's reading it too late. A lot of the secondary from the feedback of what we got from the Bears is that the Bears can see J.J. McCarthy's eyes where he's throwing the ball. And if you're a professional quarterback or even playing at a high level in college, you should know not to show your eyes where you're going to be throwing the ball. That's like one of the biggest mistakes as a quarterback that you can do. I do have Green Bay winning this. This is going to be a get-back game for Green Bay. If Green Bay does not win this game, for me, I see them slipping even lower in their division. And I could see the Vikings taking the upswing on this. Green Bay has to win this game. Next is going to be Seattle and the Titans. Now, this is going to be interesting. I understand that Seattle is going to win this game. I think that everyone knows that Seattle is going to win this game. However, I think this game is going to be a lot closer. The Titans actually were playing really good ball against the Texans. They really don't have too much to prove. I think Cam Ward just wants to show his capabilities, especially with who he has in his personnel. I think this game is going to be somewhere around 23-16. I think this is going to be a lot closer than what people think, and I do see Seattle winning. I think it's an important game for them to win. But yeah, this is a game that Seattle does win, but man, it is going to be a really rough battle. I would definitely go on the under on this game. Next is going to be the Colts and the Chiefs, and I'm going to come back to this game because there's so much to take away in this discussion. And guys, these are things that you can parlay. I'm going to tell you my locks for the week, but we're going to come back to this. Next is going to be the Jets and the Ravens. Now, Jets playing decent ball, right? Breece Hall kind of wanted out of there, still playing. He's trying to show his value and equity for next year, maybe a trade, and who knows. But the Ravens are starting to come together where they need to. They are making a big stretch. I had said it 4 or 5 weeks ago now that the Ravens can go on an 8-game win streak, and this is one of the games that they win. They're at home, they're at Baltimore, and I think Harbaugh knows how to get it done. Next is going to be the Browns and the Raiders. Now, Raiders did just lose in a horrible fashion to the Cowboys, especially at home. Now, the Browns have Shedeur Sanders starting. Shedeur looked horrible. I'm not confident Shedeur. This is no disrespect to him or his family. This is just lack of gameplay. Maybe he didn't get the reps early enough, and to be honest, I think there's a lot to still format in this. I think that Max Crosby really wants to go off and show why he's one of the better defensive edge rushers in the league. I think this is going to be the game where the Raiders actually get a win. And I think that to be honest, the Raiders and their fans in that home, I think it's respected that they should get this one, to be honest. Browns definitely have a better defense. I don't think they have the better offense. I think Raiders get a win finally. Next is going to be the Jags and Cardinals. And you know what? This is also an interesting one. If they can address the penalties that they had, I think Cardinals have a chance of winning this game. They had 130 yards in penalties, 17 penalties in total. Absolutely absurd. They can't turn the ball over. If they don't turn their ball over, I think they could end up winning this game. However, I think Jaguars are showing their dominance later. They're very inconsistent with their on and off. They want to try to win that South Division. I think that the Jags end up winning this game. Next is going to be the Eagles and the Cowboys. Eagles obviously need to address their offensive needs, but they're still getting the W, guys. They're still winning. And the Cowboys, to me, don't look very strong. I think the Cowboys play to other people's speed, and I think the Eagles kind of set the tone. I think Eagles still have the Super Bowl caliber winning mentality, and I think the Eagles do end up winning this game. If they lose this game, it's not going to hurt them any. I still have them winning. Next is going to be an interesting one, and I want to talk about this game a little bit. We have the Falcons and the Saints. Now, the Falcons are not favored. The Saints are actually favored at a negative 146 right now through Vegas. Why? Because Kirk Cousins is starting. And to be honest with you, I kind of like that. I'm not big on Michael Penix. I like Kirk Cousins. I've seen him come back from horrible downswings in a game where he was behind 4 touchdowns and ended up winning. I like what Kirk Cousins can do against this defense on the Saints. And to be honest, with Rashid out with Seattle now, I think that Chris Olave and Alvin Kamara are the only ones. And guess who has the best secondary defense in the league? The Falcons do. Now, do I think Tyler Shuck is going to perform really, really well? He might have an okay game. I think Alvin Kamara might have an okay run game, but I think Bijan's going to go off. I think Drake London's going to go off. I want you guys to stay tuned for my player props at the end of this, because this is going to be a pretty good player prop that you guys can parlay. It'll be a plus 2,800. Yes, I think the Falcons win. I think they get their get-back game. If they have any opportunity of even taking the South, they have to win this game. Next is going to be the Bucs, and it's going to be the Rams. This is the same thing I just said for the Falcons. Look, Rams are one of the best teams in the NFL based off record. Do I think they're one of the best teams in the NFL? No. Do I have them in the top 5? Maybe at 5. I think the Rams are on fraud alert, to be honest with you. Rams should have won by a landslide with 4 interceptions. They were horrible in the third down conversion. They were horrible in the red zone territory. They don't know how to move the ball effectively. They did not manage the ball over 300 total yards in that game, but they still got the win. So, yes, win's more important. However, you're going to play a team like the Bucs where Baker Mayfield absolutely can put up 40, 50 points on you. Against the Rams, maybe not. I see this game going into the 30s. I would take the over on this, by the way. And not only that, I think that Baker Mayfield is going to show why he's going to take this division. I think this division is going to be with the Bucs, but I think it's going to be very close. And I think that this team really has what they need when they're healthy. They aren't healthy right now, but when they're healthy, they're one of the best teams in the NFL. Next, we have the Panthers and the Niners. I'm taking the Niners, and that is my team, yes. And this is not to be biased. I think they're coming together at the end of the season where they're healthier, they're stronger, they're formatting and playing in all the right categories right now. Ricky Pearsall's back, Kittle's healthy, CMC's healthy, and Brock Purdy's coming off of a great win against the Cardinals, 19 for 26, 73% completion, 3 passing touchdowns. I just think that there's so much positive intent and capability behind this team right now that they're doing great. Winters is back on the defense. The defense didn't look half bad, to be honest with you. Yes, they allowed a lot of yards. However, I think they addressed some of the secondary. Lenore balled out, did a great job. Sky Moore on the special teams did a great opening run back, but 96 yards, almost with a touchdown. One of the longest returning kickoffs with no touchdown in NFL history. Put us in a great position right off the bat to give us 7 points. Unfortunately, Pinheiro is out for a couple weeks. I wish he was in this because I would have loved to see him do well, kicking extra points and field goals in this game against his old team. However, I wish him to get healthy. We'll be fine. We're going to win this game, guys. I'm telling you, we're winning this game. So let's go through it again. I got the Bills, Steelers, Pats, Lions, Green Bay, Seattle. We're going to talk about the Colts and Casey here in a second. We have the Ravens, I have the Raiders, I have the Jags, Eagles, Falcons, Bucks, and the Niners. Now, obviously, it's hard to go perfect, but I feel pretty confident in this. I want to talk about the Colts and KC. Daniel Jones has been playing pretty good. Everyone thinks he's been playing better than what I think because this is the first time the Colts have seen a good quarterback since Phillip Rivers or Andrew Luck. 2020 was the last time they went to the playoffs, and KC's been on a weird decline. However, it's still KC. You can never count them out. This is a must-win game for KC, especially if the other teams around them end up winning, right? This is going to make a big push for KC in the whole possible wild card contention for them in the AFC, especially if the Steelers win and the Ravens win, right? So Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, Rashid Rice, Hollywood Brown, can they get it done? Yes, no, I don't know. Jonathan Taylor's moving that ball really effectively, especially against good defenses. So is Jonathan Taylor going to get a touchdown in this game? Yeah, 100%. I have him for 100% getting a touchdown. Who else is going to score touchdowns? So I don't know if Daniel Jones can pick apart the Kansas City Chiefs as effectively as he has with other teams. But, man, this is going to be a close game. I think it's going to be like 27-28. I think Chiefs win. I do have Chiefs to win this game. So, again, it's going to be a shootout. We'll see what happens. I don't know. Let's talk about a final victory again for the Niners. Congratulations. We definitely got that dub. I'm super proud of my team. Niners are definitely swing for the season. So let's just really focus on more weeks to come. Okay, let's talk about the parlays of who I want you guys to start putting in, okay? I want you to put anytime TD for T. Higgins, and I want you to put T. Higgins for 70 yards receiving, okay? T. Higgins is going to be one of the main targets this week. Flacco throws the ball. He loves throwing the ball. T. Higgins has been doing a great job. Put T. Higgins anytime TD, 70-plus yards receiving. Jonathan Taylor, I'd put him for 60, 70 yards rushing. Put him for anytime TD. I think that's smart. You could do two, but I'd feel comfortable with one. Bijan Robinson, definitely put him for anytime TD. I'd put him for another 60 yards rushing. CMC, all-purpose yards, CMC, 80 yards. And then I'd put him for anytime TD for sure. JSN, I would not put for anytime TD. This is going to be an interesting game. I do have JSN going for 80 reception yards and you could also put him for 8 receptions in total. Anytime TD, I'm not sure. They utilized A.J. Barner a lot last week. I think A.J. Barner is going to get a red zone touchdown. However, I'm not confident to pair that up in parlay with this week, to be honest with you. And then I do see either Kenneth Walker or Charbonnet getting a red zone touchdown. However, my confident one is going to be, again, 70-plus receiving yards, T. Higgins, Jonathan Taylor, 70 rushing yards with the anytime TD, Bijan Robinson, 60 rushing yards with the anytime TD, CMC, 80 all-purpose yards, meaning pass and rush plus a TD, JSN, with a 80% or 80 receiving yards plus 8 receptions. I think he'll be utilized a lot. You could also throw A.J. Barner for 4 receptions. So this is going to be my futures, my picks, and all of that for this week, guys. I'm telling you right now, we're getting to the end. There's going to be a lot of changes in the power rankings, teams moving up and down. I think Rams lose this game. This is one of the games that I did have Rams to lose. I want them to lose. And, Sean McVay does a good job. Matthew Stafford does a good job. But at the end of the day, I think that Baker can be that guy. He's clutch in the performance, especially on Sunday Night Football. We'll see what happens. Again, as always, I appreciate you guys. Thank you so much for Sports Lounge Media for hosting me, Jonathan Hamilton, here on SLM Bets on Mondays and then Faithful Fridays on Friday. Kind of redundant, but yes, we talk about the Niners. Special shout out to our contributors for Sports Lounge Media, the Mogul Brand, and the Diamond Collection. As always, guys, please bet responsibly. If you have any gambling problems, please reach out to 1-800-GAMBLERS. They are a gambling hotline for you and your needs. Always bet responsibly. And if you want any more advice, please reach out to sportsloungemedia.com. As always,